Hoop Dreams, the podcast, an Unlearning Network production.
Man, we're excited about this one today. We got the multi-talented person on the show. He's an artist, former athlete, NFL player, an artist, author, entrepreneur. Oh yeah, acts a little bit too, only 20 years or so. Starred in some of the favorite movies and TV shows. White Chicks, The Longest Yard, one of my favorites, Everybody Hates Chris, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The Expendables, America's Got Talent, and the list just keeps going and going. We like to welcome to the show a very special guest on the Hoop Dreams podcast today, none other than Mr. Terry Crews. I'm Will Gates, and that's my dog.
Arthur Agee, man. Welcome to the show, Terry, man. We appreciate you being here, man. How you doing, brother?
Man, you don't understand. Listen, the love goes both ways, man. Arthur, William, you guys, man. Oh, you don't understand. The first time I saw Hoop Dreams, I said, this is my fam. They just fam. Like, I couldn't believe it, man. It was so, and I saw it in a theater. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about when it first came out.
Right.
And it blew me away. It was right up there with Do the Right Thing, right up there with Star Wars, right up there with some of my favorite films, simply because I recognized all that I came from, man. I mean, I'm from Flint, Michigan. You know what I mean? You guys grew up in Chicago, the whole thing, but similar circumstances, man. Just a lot of obstacles, man, that we had to get out of and overcome, but big dreams. See, on top of all that, the dream was, man, we got to make it. There's something else out there. There's something we have to get there, man. And I'm so proud of the men you have became. Like, again, I feel like I already know y'all. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I grew up with you. Like, we went to school together. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm just proud, man, that you guys are still friends, still doing this, still at it, man. And I'm just honored, man. I'm honored to be here, honored to talk to you. You have no idea how much you have influenced my life. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to tell you, man, that just the fact that so many people watched you guys grow up and saw this, see, because you could probably, people could tell you about the story, but to watch the story, to see it, man, it's something that I can't describe, man. And you have inspired nations full of people, man. Like so many. Thank you, guys.
We didn't even try to be famous.
Yeah, I know.
We was trying to be famous on the basketball court.
Right.
Not knowing 27 some years later, this thing was gonna carry on, have a life of its own, and inspire so many people, man. It's just a pleasure just a pleasure to even speak with you, man. Because like me and Will said, you one of our favorite actors, man.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Thank you. Oh,
well, Terry, our podcast is a little bit different, man. We want to get into the Terry Crews origin story. So we want to go back to the beginning, man. Take us back to your childhood, where you grew up, the neighborhood. What was it like growing up in the 70s and 80s? Talk to us about that.
Woo! Okay, all right. I'm 53 years old. I'll be 54 in July. I was born in 1968 in Flint, Michigan. Now, one thing people have to understand, listen, at the time, you got to understand this about Flint, Michigan. It was like, San Francisco, man. General Motors was the #1 corporation in the world. Like, it was money everywhere, man. And this is the thing, my father grew up in Georgia, and he moved up to Flint to work in a factory. So
what?
And then on my mother's side, she was born in Flint, but her family came from Georgia too. And everybody came up for this auto industry, man. Everybody was going to work in the shop.
So everybody's parents was working at the car dealer, at the auto.
Everybody. My grandmother was at AC Spark Plug. My father was at Buick. Everybody I knew worked at the factory. And listen, man, they was giving out homes. They were giving out cars. They were giving out pensions. They were giving, and everything you got was from GM. Like GM ran everything, man. Now everybody had a house. Everybody has, but so coming up, it was wild because, people were living good. I remember going and seeing the 4th of July and everything was great and the stores and the people.
Yeah.
And what was crazy, and this is what happened, in my young days, like by the time I was like, as a little boy all the way to about 12 years old, Flint was okay. Like Flint was doing good. And then it was like a bomb hit the city, man. Like when I say a bomb, it started with the gas crisis, like in the 70s, like, and it started to hit. Cause I'm 68, around 78, stuff started to change, like major, man. And I remember, see, you got to know, like, what's wild is that we see Toyotas and Nissans and all that. But back in the day, they used to burn foreign cars. Like,
really?
You see pillars of smoke coming up, and they was like, don't you dare bring that foreign car up in there. Somebody drive a Toyota in there, they burn it.
What?
Like, people don't understand, because this is GM town. It was like gang stuff, you know what I mean? Like,
wow.
And then, now on top of all that, my father was a foreman. My father he worked his way up to being a foreman in General Motors. But my father was an alcoholic. And when I say alcoholic, and I mean, it was one of the things where it took me years and years to understand a little bit about his background, because he didn't really tell me nothing. But he was very, very abusive. Now, one of my earliest memories growing up was my father hitting my mother in the face as hard as he could, and me watching my mother go down. Like, I can't, it's almost like every time I talk about it, I can go right back to that spot, because that's your mama. You just think, what is going on? And I used to wake up to screaming, to fighting, to glass breaking, to craziness, man. And what's so crazy about the whole thing was that, I didn't understand what was, these two people who were supposed to be loving each other. Like this, I'm 5 years old. I'm trying to figure out what life is. And I'm seeing my father beat up my mother. And I'm like, yo, like my whole thing is that whatever he says goes. I grew up scared. Like it was always something to be scared of. You know what I mean? Like it was always something, because he was a big dude, man. He'd walk around the house, you hear his footsteps, the whole thing. And he, one thing it was, I had like two fathers. There was a father that I would see on his way to work, which was clean, and he had his short sleeve shirts ready with his name embroidered on the pocket with the pins, and he was a foreman, and he was polishing his shoes and the whole thing, and he would be getting ready to go to work, and he worked second shift. So I remember about 1 o'clock, my mother would have a plate ready to go, and he'd eat and whole thing, and he's out. And then there was the father that came back after work, after the bar, after having drinks, after the whole thing, man. And he was towed up. He would be listening to Bobby Womack and singing sad songs. And man, you couldn't get near him. Like, I don't even, it was like that dude, it was a whole nother person. It was like watching him become one person, changing over to the next every day.
Wow.
You know what I mean? We hear the car pulling up, man. We would be like, okay, get out of here. Like, find something to do, get out the way. Here he is. You know what I mean? He come home mad.
So you could say he was a functioning alcoholic.
Oh, yeah. Oh, big time. Big time. But the thing is that that's how it was in the shop. Wait. First of all, the whole alcohol, being an alcoholic wasn't even a term. You know what I mean?
It wasn't even a term.
You know what I mean? That was like, that's what you did. Cat was like, get you a drink. And the term was wino back in the day. You know what I mean? That's meant you were homeless. But if you had a home, you ain't no alcoholic.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That was just, that dude didn't have no house, that's a wino.
Wow.
But anybody who had a house and a job, you could go on and nobody really acknowledged that you ever had a problem. And also another thing is that domestic violence wasn't really a thing either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like, hey man, you were supposed to get your girl in line.
Yeah. And then when the mama called the police show up and they be like, oh, y'all married. Oh, all right.
Yeah.
We finna get
nothing, man. You just handling your business.
Yep.
Hey man, look, I'll never forget my mama stabbed my father, stabbed him. I'll never forget. He used to wear them white V-neck t-shirts. This is why you see things as a kid, and big white V-neck t-shirts. And I remember him holding his side, man, as the blood was like coming out on it. And he was sitting on the stoop, sitting in front of the house. And the police came and the lights and stuff. And again, I'm really little, but my mother was like, she stabbed him. And he was like, ain't nothing wrong. No. And the police came and they was like, what do you want us to do? And he was like, ain't nothing wrong, ain't nothing wrong. And she was backing him up like, no, he's good, it's good. You know, it was kind of like, cover it all up. It ain't no thing, but it was, looking back, man, and the stuff we know now. Yeah. And in hindsight, it was bad, man. I mean, and on top of being alcoholic, he would gamble. So, you know, he played the lottery and then the illegal lottery. You know what I'm saying? And the number man would come through. And so one thing I realized is that we weren't poor. Well, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't poor. We weren't poor. But we lived like we was poor because he didn't say no money. You know what I mean? You're talking about making good money in the shop that, you know, it was like, he was like, man, it's monopoly money. We can just go out here and do this and do that. So we lived well below where we should have lived. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely. How many brothers and sisters you have, Terry?
I had an older brother and a younger sister. And my older brother, we had different fathers. So my mother got pregnant with my brother at 16, and she had me at 18. And then she had my sister 6 years later. So I'm 6 years older than my sister with my dad and my mom. And but see, my mother was so young, she was kind of like our big sister. We didn't call her mom, we called her Trish. And we called my grandmama Mama. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's what it was. It was like, hey Trish, she was like, you know, she was really, really young, you know, 16, 18, you got 2 kids. Yeah. It's like she was like big sister, you know what I'm saying? But this is another thing about my mom. She was addicted to religion. So I grew up in the Church of God in Christ, which wouldn't allow you to do nothing. Guys, nothing. When I say nothing, no secular music, no dancing, no sports, no movies. My mother was like sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, with the dresses all the way down to the ankles, no makeup. What? And dude, and everybody was like, and we wasn't allowed to do nothing but sit down and shut up.
So you went to church almost early in the week, huh? Not just on Sundays.
Oh my goodness, man. And wait, and church was like 6 hours long. You know what I mean? Like, bro, you know, it never ended. It just didn't. Wait, we would go Sunday morning, right? We'd get there about 9, go all the way to 4, right? In church. Go home, because my mother put some beans on the stove, so I had something bubbling. Go eat that, and then come back for like 7 o'clock service. I said, man, what in the world? We used to bring pillows to church. We ain't leaving. We ain't never leaving. And look, it was crazy. I mean, my mother would pinch me and do all this, like, wake up, stand up. I was like, but I couldn't get why we could look. But this is another thing as a kid I noticed that we could watch all the movies on TV. Yeah. But we couldn't go to the movies and watch them. And I was asking all these questions like, when Jaws came on TV, we watched it, but we can't go to the movie. Hey, shut up. Sit down and shut up. You're asking too many questions. You know?
That's right.
So that, the religion and the alcoholism, because my father didn't go, it made for real, it was always like she was on him, like, you need to be doing this. He was like, leave me alone. And it would always, it was a really, really toxic mix, man. Like a lot of violence, a lot of screaming, and it was just, I had to find a way to get out.
And how did you escape from that? And when did you start playing sports?
Check this out. My thing was, the way I escaped mentally was art. because we can't go to the movies. You can't do nothing. So my mother would say, sit down and shut up. So what I did was take a piece of paper and some pencils, and I just drew. And I would draw all day. And I'm left-handed, right brain, right? And so my creativity was just off the chain. Like people would I'd go to school and everybody would be talking about the movies that they saw. You know what I mean? And so I would go home and draw what I thought the movies were. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, this or comic books and different stuff, man. And so I would get lost in my own imagination. You see what I mean? Because nothing was legal. So I was just drawing musicians. I mean, and I had a good friend, and he was a couple years older than us. His name was Charles Estes. And Charles was, I thought my house was bad, but my man Charles had a really hard life. Like his father would beat them with chains and whips and I mean, like extension cords and I mean, he had a wood plank with nails in it, man. They would get beat, they'd be bleeding, man. It was so foul. But Charles was part of my church.
Okay.
And Charles was one of the most amazing musicians ever, right? So we go to Charles' house, and that's where I listen to my secular music. He has Stevie Wonder, Shaka Khan, all the, Earth, Wind, and Fire, all the stuff we were like, oh, we can't do that at home, And that's where we learned to dance. And I kind of would pick up on what was going on because all the kids in the church were doing all that stuff, on the side. I don't know if you remember a group called Midnight Star.
Yeah.
They had that song called Freakazoid. Yeah. Their mama was a member of our church. And they were like, and the kids were like, ooh, your mom, Midnight Star is blowing up. And she'd be like, shh.
Don't tell nobody.
But she was happy for him, but she was like, come on now, Because, and it's the thing, man, it was such a wild time. How I escaped was just any way I could. You see what I mean? Like mentally, I got out of it. Now, I wasn't allowed to play sports as a kid, right? Because they felt like you were just trying to hurt people and be competitive and all that. And then what was so crazy is that when I turned 14, I wanted to play football so bad. And I had a my junior high school coach, a guy by the name of Coach Lee, came by my house. And he begged my parents. He said, first of all, I really feel like it could be Terry's opportunity. Like, I feel like this is a way for him to go to college. This is a way for him to actually see, this could be a new path for him.
Right. And
if he doesn't do this, you'd be cutting him off. And my parents kind of was like, I think they were a little, because my father was wild. He hated sports. He wasn't religious. He just hated sport. He wanted me to go in the military. The way he grew up, I don't know what happened to him. Something happened to him sports-wise that made him just like, man, y'all, I don't like sports at all. He never followed it, but he was always into that military life. You know what I mean? So he always was pumping the military. And what happened was my mother was convinced because she started to see, after all the years of being religious and this kind of stuff, that she said, well, this might be a way for him. So and then that was also a way for me to keep my grades up. It was something they could hold on me. Like, you want to play the sport, you better keep these grades right here, And I told them, I'll listen, you let me do this. I begged and pleaded, and they let me play football. Now, another thing that saved me, and I'll be honest, it saved me, man, because when the auto industry was falling in the 1980s, it fell hard and it fell quick. Like, when I say by 80 to 82, the factories was closed and all these people were out of work, man, but they went straight into the drug game.
Right,
and that's right. When the pandemic hit. Like, people went straight from the shop to the dope.
To the trap house.
Like, it was like, bump that. And we had, what was crazy, man, it was like 14 people, little 14-year-old kids running around with Uzis and Chevrolet Chevettes and, whole thing. And the whole drug game just blew up. Like, crack was everywhere. If you wasn't selling it, they was on it. And when I say on it, I mean, people turn into zombies. It was like Walking Dead. And I remember right in my hood, a lot of kids that I went to school with, you know, they were getting killed. They were either getting on dope. One of my best friends, man, it was so wild because I watched him, him change. And he had got on them drugs, man. And I remember the last time I saw him, he had the black lips and he was rail thin and he couldn't even pay attention to what I was telling him. And I was like, oh man, like, but the fact is, with me being so religious and being in that environment, it actually protected me.
Correct, yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I wasn't out there. You know what I mean? Now I wasn't doing nothing, but I wasn't doing nothing bad either.
Right. I mean, it actually, I mean, how that came in, that probably actually like scared you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, damn, like it could make you do that, act like that. Oh, I don't want none of that.
Oh man, look, and you know, every weekend, it wasn't a weekend that went by where cats weren't dying, man. You was shootouts and drive-bys, and it got crazy. Like it was so insane that, you know, because you know, things just kept closing. Like I couldn't understand it because both of those things happening just decimated the city, man. Like I'll be honest, right now, at this moment, you know, my high school is just a field. Like everything that I remember growing up and seeing in Flint, Michigan, is gone. Wow. It's gone. Like I know at least like when you go to talk about places like Brooklyn and Chicago, at least the buildings are there. You might have different memories of it, but I don't even have no building to go back to. It's just fields.
Really?
You know what I mean? And it's wild because it's almost like I remember when this building was here. And I remember, because now it's a block with just grass. And
now Terry, I've been to Detroit because I have an aunt that left Birmingham, Alabama and lives there in Detroit. But I used to go up there as a kid. But how far is Flint from Detroit? Or is it like a suburb out of the city?
Like, it's too far to be a suburb. It's about 40 minutes.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's about 40 minutes. So there's a lot of connections. And what was one of the big gangs that really hit in Detroit was Young Boys Incorporated. And you got to understand about Young Boys. Young Boys changed everything because Young Boys figured out that if you had what they were recruiting was young kids. And they knew, that's why they were called Young Boys. Because they knew that if a young kid did something, he'd go to juvie and come right back out at 16.
Yeah.
And they go back out on the street. So you had cats recruiting young boys at 12. I mean, they were outside of middle school, man. Little 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds would be selling drugs. And the whole thing. And they changed the game because it was like nobody was that sinister up until that point. Like to go to the middle schools and be like, this is our new crew.
Right.
And so that's why it was so young and crazy. And so we had another group that mirrored that, was a gang called the Top Dogs in Flint. And I'll never forget, man, there was so many times we had like roller skating rinks. There was a big roller skating rink called Rolettes. And I remember when the Young Boys came up and shot it up, because their whole thing was just establishing, you know,
they territory,
putting in Michigan. You know what I mean? I was just that. It was like the Supreme Team in New York, or, you know, these. And what's so wild is how gang culture really started in Chicago. You know what I'm saying? With the El Rukins and all that. You know what I'm saying? The whole thing.
Yeah.
It was way, before the Bloods and Crips. But what was wild is that Young Boys had its own. Like, I remember just being scared, man. Like, just being scared of everything. And so one thing that protected me was being an athlete. Because, you know, being an artist didn't protect me. But being an athlete, people kind of saw I had a little neck. I had a little, so you know what I mean? It was kind of like the games was a little bit like, don't mess with that dude.
Yeah, he into sports. He ain't even
right.
You know what I mean? He a square. They called us squares.
They would actually go after Cat. Like, all right, man, you ain't got no choice. Like, you either in or you either with us or against us.
Wow.
And you didn't want to be against them, but they left the athletes alone. And it was wild. I had my little Letterman's jacket and the whole thing. So they was like, okay. But one thing that also saved me is that I went to a magnet school, which was a school called Flint Academy. And Flint Academy was different. It was almost, it was an experiment. And this is in the early days of magnet schools, because if I would have went right to the straight public school, I think I would have been, I think I'd have been lost. But this school decided I had a talent, and they said, you are a great artist. So we see this talent, so we're gonna let you come here. So what happened is all the people with special talents in different parts of the city would come into Flint Academy and be bussed in.
Wow.
And it was right in the middle of the hood, like in one of the worst parts of Flint, but the school had white kids, it had different kids from the suburbs, because everybody wanted to go to this school because it was special because you had this talent. Some people were math oriented, so everybody had good grades, and the temptation and the peer pressure was to be excellent.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas I remember taking some classes at Flint Central, and man, the peer pressure was like, man, what the fuck are you talking about? You know, I mean, it was like you get in there and they would, man, the teacher was hiding behind a desk, man. It was right. I ain't gonna lie, man. It shocked me, man. I was like, the teacher was like, whatever they want to do, go right ahead. He woun't even look up. He just, he made sure he didn't look none of these students in the eye.
That's right.
And I was like, man, this is crazy. So that's the one thing that saved me. Like, it actually opened up my world. You know what I mean? Like, just a little bit. I had that crack that, like I said, religion was first, and then that school was second. That it created a bubble that protected me and allowed me to get through it and kind of get and navigate all this crazy, dangerous time, man. It was wild.
It's interesting that you say that, because it was art that basically got you into college, even though you was this incredible athlete. How did those two merge like that?
But this is the problem. Now, I was an athlete, but the issue is my school was more academic. So nobody cared. You know what I mean? It was like, oh man, it's like going to an Ivy school or something. Like, man, versus USC. You know what I mean? It's like, I was trying to get looks from colleges. You know, man, I wrote like 400 letters to different colleges, and nobody even looked. You know what I mean? And then my man, Coach Lee, who basically let me, he really got me on the team. He left because he got in an argument with the coach, and the coach that was over my career for the rest of my high school years, he didn't care. He was dogging us out, and I was like, oh man, because the school was more academic than it was athletic. But I never stopped, because this is another thing. Because my father was so abusive, I knew one day that I'd have to take him on. Like, when I was a kid, my whole thing was about getting strong. And I actually think this comes through therapy. It comes through actually thinking about, in hindsight, how you became what you became. But I've been working out. My thing is, I was early on. I'd be lifting couches, and my whole dream was to be strong, man, and the whole thing. So as a kid, because I knew one day I might have to kill my father. That was a reality in my head.
Wow.
Because being that and being scared all the time, you go say, hey, look, you get tired.
And you want to protect your mom.
You know what I mean? Right. It's one thing to be scared and skinny, but I decided I was going to be scared and big, just in case something happened. You know what I mean? And so I threw myself into fitness, And then the other thing was, I knew art was only going to get me so far. Like, nobody's going to pay people for art. What we used to do back in the day, I would get paid. I'd get like $25, and I would do like the drug Mickey Mouse. Like, I'll have him with a big coat on, with feelers on, and sitting there with his hands in his pocket, Mickey Mouse with sunglasses, and then they would take him to screen printing places, and they would make these screen printing T-shirts. That was the the hotness, back with airbrush T-shirts and all that stuff. So me and my friends, I would just keep drawing those things, and then we would have all the hot shirts. We'd only get $25, but we would see people all at the mall with my shirt on, and they didn't even know who drew it, but I knew I did it.
Right.
And we do that with Popeye and Mickey Mouse and all them ghetto versions, you know? But that was my skill. That was my thing. I was like, and I really was into what I was doing, but I didn't see no more money than that. I was like, hey, give me $25, but it ain't gonna pay for everything. But I knew football was gonna be my way. And I decided that football was going to be my way. And I ended up walking on at Western Michigan University. I got a $500 art scholarship. Like it didn't pay the whole way.
Right.
But I knew if I got in, I could earn a scholarship through football that would pay my whole way. So I begged my mother and my father. I said, look, please just take care of 1 year. 1 year. All the stuff that's outside of this $500, please just take care of this and I'll get a scholarship the rest of the way.
Right.
And they went to, man, it was hard because again, my father didn't give up his gambling. Right. And my mother had to make all the sacrifices. And it was hard that first year. And then I went to college and went to the coaches after the first year. And I was like, okay, I need a scholarship now. And they said, no. They said, no. And I went home like, oh, no. And I begged my mother. I said, look, you don't have to get a whole year. Can I just try to go back for a semester?
A semester and show.
Said, Terry, come on. And she fought. They went without, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And I went a whole nother semester and I got my scholarship. And it ended up being one of the best players that ever played at Western Michigan.
Wow.
I mean,
absolutely.
But, you know, it was a fight, man. It was a fight. I never got recruited. I never got hyped. But I was that walk-on, you know what I mean? But I learned something, man. Like, that was the moment I knew that no was negotiable. Like, it might be no today.
Right.
But no could be yes tomorrow.
I want to speak back to on you being raised up in Flint because I want to know, because me and Will was Will was raised in Cabrini Green, and it's like its own world. Meaning that if Will wanted to go downtown, he would have to walk down Division Street out of his own world and start walking to the rich areas, to the business districts and all that. You being in Flint, were you able to get out of Flint and experience, you know, the Michigan, Detroit's, the other areas and stuff? And was that part of you, you know, because I know Will still have that Cabrini Green in him, but he saw his environment and was like, no, I'm not going to be my environment. I got to do something else to get out of here.
Let me tell you what happened. What was so amazing. Just like I had Coach Lee for my sports, I had this art teacher, man. Oh, man, I get emotional thinking about it, man.
Really?
Mr. Eichelberg. I'll never forget. He was a corn farmer out in rural Michigan. He would drive in to teach at the school. He said, Terry, you're the best artist I've ever seen. He said, your natural talent is amazing. I'll be like sitting there like, oh, you know, whatever, you know. Yeah. And because I didn't think, you know, I didn't believe, man. I just didn't believe in myself. This man, look, he took my art. He took pictures of it, had it professionally photographed. I didn't even know. You gotta understand, I didn't even know.
What?
Took stuff, got it photographed, filled out all the applications for me, sent them in. I got a full ride scholarship for a summer camp program at Interlaken. Now, Interlaken is one of the best arts camps in the world. Wait, in the world. People from Germany, Italy, France, California, everybody was there, and it cost big bank, like major money. I mean, all the rich kids, it's still there in Michigan. And what it is music and art and all these and acting and creative. And all these kids go there for the summer session. It's 6 weeks. He got me a full ride scholarship from Chrysler.
What?
To go. And listen, I remember walking into class. He said, Terry, he said, man, are you ready to pursue your art further? I was like, what are you talking about, man? He was like, I got you this guy. Then he pulled out all the paperwork. He said, are you ready to go to Interlaken this summer? And it was the summer before, and he filled out my Western Michigan scholarship, by the way, too. That's how I ended up getting $500. But he sent that over, And Interlochen is all the way up at the top of Michigan, near the UP. It's near Traverse City.
Okay.
I had never been, like, I had never even been on a plane. I had never, I ain't going nowhere. I ain't never been nowhere. I went up there, man, and there it was campgrounds and beautiful, like, trees, and man, and we all had uniforms and all this, and it was full ride. So everything was taken care of, man. And there I was, and we were one of a handful of Black people. Like, most of the school was white.
Yeah. And
I would say we had about probably 10 Black people out of 400, 500 kids. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Dude, you got to understand, that opened my whole world. And I'm going to tell you there's one quick story that tells it all. We were supposed to draw all these paintings, and I remember getting there, and I was like, "Oh man, maybe I'm not good." You start you doubting. Like, I was like, "Man, I don't know if I belong here. This is crazy, right?"
Yeah.
And so they tell us to do all these drawings, and we were doing these drawings, and they said, "Don't put your name on them." And they had, and my class had about 30, 40 kids in it. And so we put all our drawings on this wall with no names, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the director of the Art Institute of Cincinnati was coming through, and the big thing was about competition and finding out who's who. So the teacher said, "Who has the best?" He said, "Show me the best drawing on that board." And it was the wall was full of stuff. He looked through all of them, and he went right to mine. He said, "This one is the best one in this room."
What?
That's mine. Then they said, "What's the next best?" He went all the way across the room and picked my other one. And we only allowed to do 2.
Wow.
And people started clapping, and people was like, "Oh, that's Terry, that's Terry." Man, listen. For the first time in my entire life.
Yeah.
I'm getting emotional thinking about it, man.
I know.
For the first time in my entire life, I said, "Wait a minute. I'm just as good as anybody. Like, not only am I good, I'm the best here. Not at any, like, this is what my art can bring me." And I said, it didn't have nothing to do with me being white. Didn't have me, nobody gave me a gimme because I was Black. It was raw. It was just raw. It was like, this dude is the best artist in this whole thing.
How did you go back? What did that teacher say when you went back to school? And what? I know he was like, "Terry, I told you."
I went straight from there to college. Like, I didn't go back. Remember, it was my senior year.
It was senior year, summer.
But I did see Mr. Eichelberg later. You got to understand, man. I ran into Mr. Eichelberg almost about 4 years ago. And he was so proud, man, because he's seen the movies. He's seen all this stuff. And he was like, "Terry, I always knew." I was in tears. Let me tell you, I was in tears when I saw Mr. Eichelberg. Yeah. And I just said, "Man,
I would have too.
You're the only one, man." I said, "You told me. You filled out the application." I said, I would have none of this.
Hey, Terry, that's so crazy. You almost sounded just like William Gates in the movie when he said, "Man, when I went out to St. Joe's, I ain't know if I should be here." Remember you said that, Will? He was like, "Oh, I think I should change schools. I don't know."
Man, it's so easy for self-doubt to kick in because because when you walk into that environment, you see their advantage already. So that's the first thing hit you. You like, man, these dudes are already ahead of the game, and you don't even know what to expect. But Terry, I was just like you, man. I was like, man, not only do I belong, I'm the best out here. I started thinking, saying, they need me.
You know what? This is the thing, man. And I'm gonna cross the line here a little bit. But one thing people don't understand is that, opportunity, you got to find it. Like, if somebody gives you an opportunity, it's not really an opportunity. It's a charity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, charity is given, but opportunity is hidden. Absolutely. You got to find it. Like, it ain't going to be easy. Like, it's got to be some struggle, like a little bit. Now, the problem is that you get resistance. And I think that, we tend to, and I'll say this for me, there were times in my life I get a little resistance that means, oh man, I'm not supposed to do that. But sometimes you going into the wind and you still go in the right direction.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
That's what I had to get. Like, man, like these little obstacles, man, these little things, man, they are stepping stones. But you got to reframe them. You can't quit. You can't stop. You know, there was a thing like, I'm sure going to St. Joe's, and you know, when you look at the academics, it was like, but when you fight it, you can do it. You just got to work. You can do anything, but you got to practice. Like,
absolutely.
In the hood, it was like get by. You know what I mean? After school, they would just push you on and let you go, and like, whatever, man.
Yeah.
And that ain't making you better.
Hey, Terry, that's so funny you say that, because I remember when I didn't feel it for myself. I mean, I was just a knucklehead at the time, but when me and William went into St. Joe's, they all put us in these lower standard classes, right? So me and Will was in Sister Marilyn's classroom. I think it was a reading, a composition of one of them. Will stayed in that class for 1 week. After 1 week, he was gone. That's when I knew that he figured it out. Like, oh shit, like I could do this. And they only put us in those classes because me and Will and them took, we took these entry exams, entry tests. And we just, A, B, C, D, just did it just to get out of there. So they used those test scores and said that we came in reading on a 5th and 6th grade level, which we wasn't,
Right.
It hit me when I didn't see my buddy in the classroom with me. I was like, damn, Will done figured it out. He a damn genius. He a nerd now. This time I'm saying, I'm like, damn, he gonna leave me in the damn in the lower standard class. I'm like, let me buck myself up and get to studying and get my ass up out of here.
Dude, I got another story for you, man. And this blew me away, man. When I was 14, same time, I had this is after Coach Lee left. When Coach Lee left, and I was I think I was turning 15 at the time. And I had big football dreams, like, okay, we're going to do this football because they let me on the team. I finally can play sports. And I started away. I said, I'm going all the way to NFL. That's all I was talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was a substitute teacher. This is the dude. He's the opposite of Mr. Eichelberg.
Okay.
But I didn't know, right? It was a real subtle. White dude, the dude, Mr. Scanlon. I'll never forget, man. He said, Terry, you want to play football, right? I was like, oh, man, that's my dream. That's what I want to do. He said, I went to University of Michigan, and I want to take you to Ann Arbor. Now, you got to understand, Flint and Ann Arbor is like heaven and hell. Ann Arbor is manicured lawns, big old light posts, clean. They got that big U of M on the garage. You know what I mean? Big cats living in big stately brick houses. Bruh, we drove. I'll never forget, man. He picked me up Saturday morning. We were supposed to go see the football game.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going to take me to a real Michigan football game. So I get up early. I'm ready. I'm sitting out by the window like, man, here he come. I get in. We go down to Ann Arbor, and I see the difference. Like, man, this place is pretty, man. This is beautiful. And then we go around. Then he takes me to, like, the pregame. Like, they have this whole, like, all this food laid out inside with all the alumni and the whole thing, man. And he's walking around. He's introducing me. He's like, yeah, man, this is Terry. I want to introduce you to Terry. He wants to play football. And they're like, oh, look at, hey, Terry. And we eating. I'm sitting there with pancakes, with sausage, with chicken, at the brunch. So it's all good. I ain't ate like this. So then we go to the game, guys. 105,000 people.
No.
University of Michigan. I forget who they were playing. I don't care. I said, and it was that wave of blue and gold, and I was like, I've never seen nothing like this in my life. Dude, I'm so pumped, man. We go to the game, they win. I'm like, oh my God, this is like incredible. We get in the car, we on our way back to Flint, man. I'm so excited, man. My heart's just, I said, man, look, I said, Mr. Scanlon, I said, man, I'm going to Michigan, man. I'm going to Michigan.
That's right.
Hey, wait, check this out. Check this out, though. He said, What? Yeah, man, I'm going to Michigan. You can't go to Michigan.
Really?
I said, hey, man. I said, what? He said, Terry, that's not your level.
Wow.
You should probably look at some Division III places or maybe consider community college first.
What?
But you're not Michigan material.
Oh.
Listen to me, man. I said, then what the F did you bring me there for?
Absolutely.
Now, this is what I was thinking. I was always a respectable young man. So I looked at him, then I looked out the window, and all of a sudden, the whole day started playing back. And it was like he was showing me off like I was a pet. He was showing me off like, here, I got this little ghetto kid. Look at it, I'm a good boy. He was getting props off me.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, look at this little black boy.
Look, I'll bring him to the game.
Everybody was like ready to pat me on the head. Oh, look at all the stuff you could never have.
Yeah.
Look at all the stuff you ain't gonna never go and get. Oh, poor boy. You know what? I'm gonna get you. We gonna give you a little bit of this before you die.
Wow.
Bruh, it all hit me that day. I said, I get angry all over again thinking about it.
Yeah.
How this dude gonna play me like I said, all right, I use that for the rest of I still use it today.
Oh,
you can't treat me like that. Don't show me nothing that I can't have it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Okay, we're gonna eat this today, and then you want to give me a can of beans tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah. Bump that. I said, bruh, I want steak. I always want steak.
Yeah.
Play with me.
You know what's so crazy about that, Terry?
Damn.
I can't even name a handful of, I hate to say it this way, but Black folks, man, who have not experienced that. Where, if they bring you, they show you, don't even let you sip the tea. Let you know how to stir it, but don't let you sip the tea. Man, that's so crazy, man. That's so crazy.
Wow.
But Terry, I know, man, we don't want to lose our time with you. So we want to hop into this thing called halftime with you. Halftime is where we're gonna throw some quick hitters at you. So I got 6 quick hitters I want to hit you with. Then Agee gonna hit you with a quick hitter. This is because you're in acting.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta hit you with this, man. Tell me which one it is.
Okay.
That you gonna watch, The Bachelor or Love Island?
Oh man, Bachelor. I go with Bachelor because I was on an episode of The Bachelor. Me and my wife was on an episode trying to teach these women, watch out.
Right.
We'll take that. Go with The Bachelor. Knight Rider or The Equalizer?
Oh, no, a Knight Rider all day, man. Knight Rider. Knight Rider, bro. Ooh.
All right, now, gonna get a little hard on you. The Voice or American Idol?
Ooh. I'm going with American Idol, man. I like the voting stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let them vote. You know what I mean? Let the people say what's up.
Right.
Now I'm really about to hit you because these last two I'm gonna take you back. The Arsenio Hall Show or the Magic Hour?
Arsenio Hall. Bruh, you gotta know, my first time in LA, I went to Arsenio. When I was playing with the Chargers, I went and visited Arsenio Hall, man. It was like the club. It was crazy, man. Rick would be standing over there with Queen Latifah on the other side, Kid and Play behind me. It was hot.
I love it. Now this one here, man, you're gonna have to think about this one. This one's gonna be a little difficult. Then again, maybe not.
Yeah.
In Living Color or The Chappelle Show?
Oh. Okay. Both of them got the juice. Okay. Both of them are legit and amazing. Yes. But because I gotta go with who started it all, I gotta go with In Living Color. Because my man Keenan Ivory Wayans, who directed me in White Chicks, Family, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's my feeling. There would be no Chappelle Show if it wasn't for In Living Color.
That's right. That's right.
That. Absolutely.
Here you go, Terry. The craziest talent you've seen on America's Got Talent.
Oh my God! There was a bunch of kids from India, man. They were called The Unbeatable. These kids could jump and leap and do anything. They threw these kids off balconies, bro. You know, like they wouldn't throw white kids off the balcony, but they
land on their feet.
And man, they did the most amazing tricks that they actually ended up winning America's Got Talent, the champions, because they came back abroad. The thing is, they came from nothing. When you say nothing, they said, what will you do if you win the $1 million? The head guy says, we'd buy safety equipment. I said, y'all won.
That's crazy.
They doing all this with no safety equipment, man. When they fall out, they just hit the ground. It was unreal.
That is crazy. That is crazy. Let me hit you with this, man. Your 3 favorite sneakers to wear around.
Wow. Okay. Oh man. I'm gonna look around. Oh, I got these. Man, I'm pulling. What? I got these. I forget. I might not be saying them right. They're what is it? Man. Anyway, I'm gonna go with some Air. I don't like Air Force Ones. Everybody loves Air Force Ones. I'm not that kind of guy. I love the Air Maxes. First one, Air Maxes. Yeah. Second one is my running. I got my soccer knees, my running soccer knees, because I run a lot. I run 4 miles a day, and I mean for years. And my third is probably my Fry boots. I love my boots, especially, they look cool, make you look dressed up, do your thing, but they still comfy like sneakers.
That's what's up.
There we go.
Let me hit you. 5 tracks in your playlist right now.
Ooh, man, that goes way back. Okay. 5 tracks in my playlist. I gotta go with, I got so much music.
What we popping in listening to on our drive to the studio?
I gotta go with Drake.
Okay.
I gotta go with Drake. And then you know what? I know it's controversial, but Travis Scott. Yeah. Travis. And then my number one dude, and he still is, man, it's Kanye, man.
The Yeezer. Yeezy.
I mean, it's wild, but you can't take nothing away because you like what he does.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Actually, your movie inspired his documentary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Genius.
That's crazy.
Even he said it. He said, my man, they saw Hoop Dreams and decided to do the same thing with Kanye. Ain't that crazy?
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
What?
So, the most famous football player you've ever done a portrait of?
Ooh, yeah. I would say Dan Marino.
Mm.
Yeah, I painted a picture of Dan Marino because I used to go back in the locker room and paint portraits of the players when I got cut. And that's how I made money. That's how I survived. I would paint portraits of the players in the NFL locker room because I played 6 teams in 7 years, so I was all over the place. So they would pay me to paint their families, paint themselves, paint all that stuff. It was great.
Damn.
That is crazy. As a matter of fact, I'm glad you brought that up too, man, because we want to thank you for doing halftime with us.
Yes.
Absolutely. And we want to talk, man, just a little bit about your NFL career, because a lot of people don't know that Terry Crews played professional football. I mean, you're known more for your art. And speaking of your art too, man, I just want to say, I did get your book, by the way, too, the children's book.
Oh, thank you.
Here's what's crazy. I was on your page and you was like, listen, the first 5,000 that say they want it, man, I was one of the first 5,000. So I gave it and read it to my granddaughter, man. Absolutely.
Thank you.
But my question for you is, man, particularly when it comes to, I mean, you were drafted by the Rams and like you say, you moved around. How did you know that you could use the art component to make some money? And not only that, how did you walk through that process of not even feeling embarrassed to do that?
Well, you know what, man? Let me tell you, one thing I realized is that, pride comes before a fall. And the thing is that there were so many times in my life because, we as Black people, we live by our image.
Yeah.
We live by projecting the image. We live by, we got to show the world what this look like and talk stuff. And, even trash talk is part of that. You know what I mean? And all that. Yeah, I did it. But the problem is that it probably is not what you really are. And every time you get down to what you really, really are, it's humbling. You know what I mean? And I had to realize, like I said, look, man, this is a skill that I have. And I had to really just, having a wife and kids at the time, I said, man, look, I got to do whatever I got to do to get to the next team, the next level, and it was humbling. But what's so crazy is that once you do humble yourself that way, everybody understands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's wild because when I first moved to LA, even after football, after doing those paintings and all that stuff, we went broke. I never made a lot of money in the NFL. My first job in LA was sweeping floors.
Wow.
And that was extremely humbling, man. But see, one thing I learned is that you never despise humble beginnings.
Yep.
Like this is going to get you what you want. And that's the way you got to think of it. Like, you know what I mean? Your dream comes with a whole lot of small things that might be humbling at the time. Yeah, like again, going to class and not figuring it out, looking like you don't know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, but the thing that's going to get you the answer is asking the question. So what happens is people don't want to ask the question because they look like they don't know what they're doing. But that's why you're in school.
That's why you're in school. That's right.
Absolutely.
So you see what I mean? It's like if you fall for that, you're not gonna learn. And so what I realized is that don't fall for it. And I came up with a thing that I call being unembarrassable. You have to be unembarrassable. And that doesn't mean do stupid things or whatever, but it's just a thing where it's like, hey man, you know what? I fart.
Yeah.
If anybody tells you they don't fart,
they lying.
They lying.
You lying.
And I said, you know what? I just got to realize that there's some things that just need to be done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if I got to sweep this floor to get what I need, then the floor needs to be swept.
Yeah.
Stop being arrogant and acting like it's too big. And there were plenty of times in my life where I didn't get that, where my wife was like, take out the garbage. I was like, hey, you know who I am? I'm terrible. You're like, boy,
take out that garbage.
Take the garbage. You got, your wife will tell you right away that, hey, wait, stop.
Yeah.
You know what? You need to really humble yourself and understand what's going on. And man, it keeps you grounded. It keeps everything right.
Terry, keep it, being on the teams that you've been on, coming from out of the football world and going into the acting world, explain to our younger listeners how you did not let one thing defeat you from going into seeing your other dreams in acting. How did you keep that mental toughness and that perseverance and doing your art? And how did you get your first acting role coming out of NFL?
First of all, you have to understand, growing up in Flint, I used to get clowned for talking white, said stuff like that. Remember I went to the school in the middle of the hood.
Yeah.
So when they saw us going in, the gangsters was out there like, oh, look at this egghead. There were times I had to fight my way in.
Damn.
So I realized a long time ago that, wait a minute, man, you know what? And then I saw how these cats ended up. You see these was selling drugs and the whole thing. I'm trying to get to college. I'm trying to do something special. And so you realize that, man, you got to face these cats. You know what I mean? And you realize I realized a long time ago that art, because people would see me drawing and all that stuff, and the art class people was like, oh man, and then they didn't respect the fact that I was an athlete, and the athletes didn't respect that I was an artist. So I've always been an outlier. You know what I mean? So I was always in the middle. And then I was fine with it. So this is where being a football player and an artist at the same time didn't have a problem for me.
Wow.
And so when I moved out to LA and we went broke and did our thing, people kept coming up to me. They said, hey man, you got a good look. You should try acting. And I was like, because I was trying to get behind the scenes. I was trying to get to be a special effects artist and the whole thing. And the people were like, man, you need to try in front. And I was like, nah, that's all right. And this one dude was like, he's like, no, you got a great look. You should try it. I thought he was hitting on me. I was like, hey, man, back up. Right. All right. You know what I mean? Like, I know that side of LA. Y'all back up. And then what happened was my wife said, you know what? So many people have told you this. You need to try it. I said, really? I said, okay. And again, man, my wife has been there from the beginning. Like I got married the day before my 21st birthday.
Wow.
Me and my wife are going on 32 years. See, and I'm gonna tell you this, there's everything you see, when you see Terry Crews, you see Rebecca Crews. It ain't no separation. Like where there is no end. I don't end and she don't begin. It's like we're all together.
Yep.
And she was always that guiding light, like that person who could see the eyes in the back of my head that could see the stuff I wasn't seeing. And she was like, you need to try this. And I said, okay. And I went and I got it.
Wow.
It was the first show I ever went for. It was a show called Battle Dome. Now, Battle Dome was like American Gladiators on steroids. It was like we were warriors. And I played this character named T-Money from Detroit. You know, it was way before Damon from Friday After Next.
Yeah.
It's way before that. I was this warrior. But it was big, and I was like, man, I love this. What? And look, I didn't even know that was my dream. I didn't even know that acting was going to be the thing that did it, man. And look, last year, I got the star on the Walk of Fame, and I looked at my wife like, you told me to do this.
What?
Ain't this crazy?
Big props.
It's a little bit like Eichelberg.
So we go to Hollywood. When we can go down on the Walk of Fame and we can see Terry Crews star.
Hollywood Boulevard. We got the star, man. Terry Crews right there. And it's there forever. I couldn't believe it, man. That's better than being in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the whole thing. It's gigantic. I'm right there next to, there's Michael Jackson down the street. I said, man, this is crazy. Little kid from Flint. You got to know something about me, man. I am the most grateful man in Hollywood. Like, you ain't going to find nobody more thankful than I am. Nobody.
We always ask this question, particularly to athletes, but I'm actually from an acting perspective. I always ask the athletes, what was that game that you knew that, man, I'm born to do this. What was that role that you said, you know what? This is me. I'm killing this.
Hey, first of all, I was always nervous. And everything I ever do, I'm always nervous every time I get to do something. Like, because first of all, if you're nervous, that means you care, right? And it ain't even nerves. It's more excitement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't like to call it fear because it's like, before that big game, if you ain't got them bubbles, you don't care. You know what I mean? You got to have that bubble to get that energy, right? So my whole career, I was really nervous about, okay, am I doing this right? Because I'm not an actor. I came from a whole nother thing. Yep. But dude, when I did White Chick, you got to understand. It was on a whole, everything that was coming out my mouth was coming out my soul. Like it was no stop. Keenan Ivory Wayans was like, I did that song in the car. I did that in one take.
Wow.
Keenan was like, no, we don't need to do it
again.
No,
you didn't.
We don't need to do it again.
No, you did not.
And they created this environment for me that just let me roll. We was coming up with stuff off the head, man. It was so, and that's when I knew, I said, oh my, like, I didn't want it to end. Like, you know how you having that game where I felt like I was scoring 80. In a basketball game. Like, I was Kobe. Like, it was one of them. I knew I was slam dunking this.
Yeah.
It was so funny. I walked in one time. I said, hey, man, y'all know I stole this movie already, right?
Yes, you did. Look,
I already knew it. It was in the middle of the movie. I said, I stole this, y'all.
That's so crazy.
Whatever else y'all want to do, y'all can do it.
That's so crazy, Terry, because I want to know. At the premiere, when they premiered it at the premiere, I know they went crazy on your parts.
But check it out. I was doing another movie in Texas called Idiocracy when the premiere was going on. Let me tell you what happened.
Terry.
No, I know. I was there.
Damn.
How's it going? My wife went and took my kids. Dude, the producer called me. I'll never forget this. Matt Alvarez. He called me up. Rick Alvarez. Matt Alvarez produced Friday After Next, and Rick Alvarez produced White Chick. He said, Terry, he said, man, your life will never be the same. He said, this whole audience is dying. He said, they are falling out. He said, man, your life is over. It's never going to be the same. And my wife was like, honey, she called me up and said, honey, oh my God, if you were here, I don't think you could take it. I think God knew I might have a heart attack. It was insane. And then what I would do is sneak into the movie theaters when it was out on the summertime. It was out in the summer, right? So I snuck into the back of the theaters and watched people just roll and crack up. And dude, and when we went to New York, I'll never forget, they had me up on a Jumbotron in New York City in Times Square, singing the song and the whole scene from White Chicks. And my wife was like, Terry, I said, we can't. See, you got to understand, this is why I'm so grateful. I've already surpassed anything I already thought. Like, you know, I've already went past that. Yep. So now I'm in free play land. Like, now this is Harlem Globetrotters now. This is like behind the back. This is and one.
and look, the confidence exudes.
You won a championship already. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And your confidence exudes through that.
Oh, dude. Listen, after that, I said, it was so amazing and so great. And it taught me everything I needed to know, man. It's because you only learn by doing.
Yep.
You can study it, you can write about it, the whole thing. But man, the more I did, the better I got.
Well, listen, Terry, Agee got one last question for you. Then we are done, and we appreciate your time today, man. Thank you so much.
Oh, I love you guys, man. You my brothers, man.
Yes. Terry, what is the next chapter in the Cruise Hoop Dreams?
Woo! Well, what is so amazing right now is that I love hosting America's Got Talent, man. It's it's gigantic. Yeah. It's gigantic. It's worldwide, okay? Yeah. But one thing that's super, super special to me is that I have my second book coming out. It's called Tough, coming out April 22nd, which really, some of the stories that I shared with you guys today was really about me having to revamp what my definition of toughness was. I got a cover of it right now.
Oh, beautiful. That's beautiful. I love that cover, Terry.
Yeah.
Coming out April. It's my mantra, it's my will, it's my testament. You know what I mean?
Getting that.
And it's just really all about, because I had to redefine what being tough was. You see what I'm saying? Because I thought it was all about, when I was young, it's about beating people up, but I learned it was about protection. It was about, you know, having muscles to build and not to break down. You know what I mean? Like, my father in my eyes as a kid was tough. But in fact, because he's beating up with his wife, it's the weakest thing ever. You know what I mean? He should have been using the strength to do something else, or to be productive. So this is the thing I feel so pumped about, man. It comes out April 22nd.
April 22nd. Everybody make sure you get TC's book, Tough. I'm on it. I know Agee on it.
Yes.
Terry, man, we can't thank you enough for your time, man. I'm on this page. It's just like you were saying earlier. We done had the and one today. We done had the behind the back, toss it up, catch the alley-oop, the Iceman George Gervin finger roll. I mean, that's what you are for us today, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Terry.
Man, the mere fact that you even answered, you know, when I sent you that DM, I'm just, man, grateful.
Hey, I got y'all, man. I cannot wait till we meet in person. Like, for real. We just gotta sit down, break bread, and eat and talk, man, and just kick it. Yeah, that's it. That's all we gotta do, man. And I can't wait. I love you guys, man.
I'm the gold of my era. I've been a trending topic. I'm as fly as a feather. My pocket's macroscopic. See, with time I get better. I'm always in the action, kid. Know I got it locked from Chicago, where the toughest live. Concrete jungle, earn my stripes on the pavement there. You make it here, then you can make it anywhere. No comparison. Your game is embarrassing. No one can touch me. I'm all for going there again. Yeah, I think I'm ballin' like I'm Will Gates. I'm hoop dreaming, trying to fight against a sealed fate. More faith, think I'm ballin' like I'm Agee. I'm box office and one day they gon' have to pay me. Yeah, I think I'm ballin' like I'm Will Gates. I'm hoop dreaming, trying to fight against a sealed fate. More faith, think I'm ballin' like I'm Agee. I'm box office and one day they gon' have to pay me.
Hoop Dreams, the podcast, an Unlearning Network production. Written and produced by Arthur Agee, Will Gates, Matt Hoffer, with audio engineering from Matt Savage. For more episodes, check us out at www.unlearningnetwork.com.
Gotta be a dog to survive in this cold weather. Ice in my veins, no need for a warm sweater. I'm coming for it all, best believe I won't let up, yeah. Hey, I think I'm ballin' like I'm Will Gates. I'm hoop dreaming, trying to fight against a sealed fate. More faith, think I'm ballin' like I'm Agee. I'm box office and one day they gon' have to pay me. Yeah, I think I'm ballin' like I'm Will Gates. I'm hoop dreaming, trying to fight against a sealed fate. More faith, think I'm ballin' like I'm Agee. I'm box office and one day they gon' have to pay me.